Ricardo. Great
Hi,
to
Joanna.
see you. Hello. Thank you for your
Great,
time.
great to see you.
Um,
It's been a while, so very happy to see you. And very happy
yes,
that you have started a new project. Very happy to discuss with you today.
yes,
Thanks for
thank
having me.
you. Thank you so much for your time. And this is my second interview. And for my second interview, I had chosen you. And it's very much on purpose because Ricardo is a person that spent many years in business, and he was a marketing director, but also CEO. But now he is actually a headhunter, I would say, yes, in short, and he works on the global arena. So I want to talk about the, empathetic leadership from the perspective of the headhunter, and that's why I had chosen you. I know also you're a great speaker, but maybe you can say a few more words about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ricardo Travassos, and I'm originally Portuguese, but I've spent the last 20 years of my career abroad. And I had the chance to live in 9 countries and work for L'Oréal, Reckitt Benckiser, Danone, and Coty. And in my last assignment in Coty, I was the CEO for Latin America, regional CEO for Latin America. And yeah, that's kind of like the corporate life. But after I decided, after many years of very enriching experiences and, to be honest, very priceless adventures, I had the idea of creating a company, and together with other partners, we founded a company called TalentKlub that is aiming to match high potential, high delivery talent with exciting opportunities in our clients around the world, exciting career opportunities. And this is in the areas of tech, private equity, typically FMCG that we both know very well, and pharma. So this is technically what I'm doing today and what I've done before. But if you ask me, Joanna, on these more than 2 decades, right, of a career, what makes me more happy is the fact that I had the chance, over the last 20 years, to deal with very different cultures, very different teams from very different backgrounds, and that has given me the opportunity to be somebody that can, do an effort to inspire people, to be, to have a contribution to their growth. And this is something that, we think about leadership many times, like, about strategies and actions and processes and budgets, but leadership is all about people in reality. So, this is something that I really treasure, the relationships that I was able to build, and the amount of opportunities that I had somehow to impact some of these talents. And I keep very good relationships with many people. I think you do the same, and this is very gratifying. So for people that are listening to us today, if you are a young leader, that would be actually the message that I would convey, which is put people at the center, because this is the most rewarding thing. On a long journey, it's definitely the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you still remember the market shares that you gain on your first assignments and the growth of the sales. You don't. But you always remember the people that you actually have promoted and have contributed, the people that you helped to get like a better life, a better role, better job, that you help to go outside or to be an expat. So these are the things that actually remain with you. And this is why I think it's so important. If you want to have a gratifying career, it's better to bet for people.
When you think about the definition of the empathetic leader, who would it be for you?
So about the empathetic leader, and actually add one word to the empathetic leader. I would say the successful empathetic leader. Yeah, and this successful empathetic leader is obviously someone that impacts the business, and I think that's a dimension that is always very important to keep having in mind, which is leaders are brought in to deliver results. But at the same time, they need to be, understanding what are the needs of those around them. So what are the needs of others, and to be able at the same time to feel and be aware of what's going on in the organization. What are the feelings and thoughts that are having in the organization? And when I say organization, I actually mean a bit more than just your direct team. I actually think about this empathetic leadership, and a successful one, in the full ecosystem. So a very strong leader needs to be someone that is listening and caring about consumers and clients. And he's also caring about stakeholders and shareholders. And he's also caring about his team, and specifically about the team. Now he's caring about creating a great place to work, right? And he's creating an environment where people are empowered, where people can take risks, where people support each other, where people can speed up on the learning curve, and where people are somehow protected as well to fail sometimes, because this is part of the learning process. So the leader will be responsible for this, to be caring of this entire ecosystem. But I would go even further, because your leadership does not end as a person. It's not just about work. At home, you still have relationships, and you have kids, or you have your wife, or you have your husband, and you still need to be there, and you need to be positive and present and optimistic and supportive. So I think this empathy needs to stretch to different spheres of your life, to your friends as well, because they are a source of energy for you. And it will end probably on yourself, which is you need to be empathic to what you're feeling and to understand what you're feeling. And you need to take care of yourself to be at your best, because that's the way actually to help others, is to be at your best. If you are in a moment that you are fragile and tired, you probably will not help others in the best possible manner, and you will not deliver the best possible results in terms of business. So taking care of yourself is also extremely important in terms of your health, your sleep, the way you manage your energy, what you eat, and how you feel at work. This is fundamental. And I think as a leader, if you are able to cover these different dimensions, then you can become a very successful, empathetic leader, and they eventually become very inspiring to an organization. When we think about empathetic leadership, we also need to think about leaders that are using three elements, which is head, heart, and courage. Yeah. And the balance between them is fundamental, because if you have a leader that is managing only with the head, he normally becomes too intellectual and very detached from people and from feelings and from what the organization is somehow living. But if on the other side he's too much driven by the heart, he becomes eventually too emotional and eventually too attached to what people are feeling and not necessarily paying attention to the business. And he becomes kind of too romantic and too poetic about the business. And if you are a leader that is only driven by courage, then you become a kamikaze. And you'll probably not last for long.
You are now a recruiter, right? You are hunting for people. Is there a need for empathy in the profiles that the companies are looking for?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are things that you can just live without. You can't. And I think today, different companies are looking for same kind of definitions of a leader. For example, they want somebody that is visionary, but at the same time that makes things happen, so that they has a good grasp on the business. At the same time, that is somebody that is resilient. And Joanna, resilience today is a kind of a superpower, okay? Because if you think about the transformation that the world has been living over the last years, the ones that are more resilient are the ones that normally thrive and really achieve great things. So this is, today, one of the things that we always look for, this resilience, this ability to face obstacles over and over again and keep trying until they win. And then there is this part of learning ability and caring about others. So developing oneself at the same time, that because it's very important for a leader to keep it actualized. And I think we can cover that later on. But it's mostly important that the leader understands that he's going to most likely, most of the time, lead a team, and regardless of if it's big or small team, he will have an impact on others. And he needs to be very aware of the kind of the impact that he has on others. A leader can motivate or demotivate, make people anxious or make people happy, make people paralyzed or mobilize teams. And that's a kind of a need that you need to identify on the people. They need to be self-aware permanently of the impact that the leader has. That self-awareness is what allows someone that is intelligent to navigate in between different scenarios and situations, and as well with different people. So that part of empathy, in this case, we are looking for people that are genuinely looking on to the way that they impact others, and they process. So whenever they go to the office on a daily basis, weekly basis, they are thinking about how do I impact the organization in the best possible manner. You should never be in autopilot. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you should be thinking on what is my contribution today and what kind of atmosphere, what kind of impact do I want to create today in the organization. And sometimes, I think we should not say that empathy is about the pink world where everything is good in a bit. No, businesses are tough, businesses are challenged. And you as a leader, you need to be challenging and you need to raise the bar all the time. But you need to understand when and how to do it. And if you have that kind of ability, then you have a team following you. If you are completely away from what the team is feeling, then you probably will not, will spin the wheel systematically and ask yourself, what is happening? Why am I not getting traction? Yeah, it's something that obviously, I think we always have, we either felt it when we were leaders and we were trying and we were learning. And I think leadership is a process of continuous learning, right? But what I say here as a summary is that we are looking for talents that are able to do and have this kind of skills that I've mentioned. So are able to do everything that I've mentioned, and on top, that are very aware, Joanna, of their leadership styles. Yeah, because depending on the business that you have, let's say, for example, about a leadership style of somebody being visionary. If the business is sinking and has lots of operational problems, a leader that is visionary, sticking to his vision all the time and not spending enough energy to help solve those short-term problems, will probably not have a business to deliver his vision after 1 year or 2 years, because the business will fail. But the leader that has a business that is going very well and cannot raise his eyes and put eventually the eyes on an horizon that is more long-term and to try to elevate the ambition of the company, probably will keep doing the same things over and over again and will not go very far. So I think you need to adapt, and you can choose between visionary style, pace setter style, coach style, affiliative style. There are several styles that you can use as leaders. The important is when and how to use it, in which circumstance, and depending on the team that you have in front of you, or in the individuals that you have in front of you, you need as well to adapt that style. Some people will be triggered significantly more by a visionary style. Some people will be triggered more by a pace setter style. So understand, having the EQ to understand how to use the styles and when and where, that's really, really paramount for a leader to be successful. So today, when we interview and when we use as well data science to understand and to be able to calibrate where do leaders rank in those kinds of topics that I've just mentioned.
When you then think about the leaders that are not successful, because very often you are replacing people, right? You are recruiting and you are replacing. So who is failing? What mistakes people are making nowadays in leadership?
Yeah, I would put it on the perspective of missed opportunities rather than on failures. I think different people meet different needs of the organization, and the organization have cycles, Yeah, but I think, if I think about leadership broadly and, strategically, I think today, it's very, very important for leaders around the world to be connected with what's going on outside their industry and their company. So the ones that succeed are normally significantly better informed on trends and, some strong waves of something that is happening that they can ride and that they can serve. And I would say that today, if we think, or if we think about the last 10 years and we think about the next 10 years, you see that there is lots of innovation curve happening that are overlapped on each other. And these S curves of innovation on blockchain, genetics, robotics, AI, you name it, payment systems. So all of this is overlaid at a speed that is insane. And I think most of the leaders that do not pay attention to this logarithmic adoption, so exponential adoption of technology, tend to have their businesses or their brands completely disrupted. So I think being aware and in tune with what's going on, it's a critical ability today to be able to prepare your future well. That would be kind of the first thing that I would say strategically. And the question is, how do you do it? Because you said there are so many things to be done. How do you cope with the amount of transformation that is going on in the world? And my recommendation always to talents that we talk to talents every day, many of them. I always say that you need to sit on the shoulders of giants. And you need to understand who in each industry is the expert and is a really strong opinion leader. And when I say opinion leader, with fact-based, with substance, so that you can learn. So, and today, thanks to social platforms, you can actually very easily, without needing to read everything about everything, you can follow the experts. Twitter gives an unprecedented opportunity for you to follow, for example, Musk. Elon Musk, right? And many other leaders can be followed very easily today. And I think that's a dimension that is very important, because we think about social platforms many times as a way to entertain ourselves, but they can be used as a way for you to be connected with what's going on in the world and to seize it in the best possible manner for your business and your brands and your teams. Yeah, so that would be the first kind of big opportunity that I see today on the in the market when I think about different leaders. And the second is that sometimes if I'm discussing with different organizations, I have the feeling that the amount of time that more traditional sectors are taking to discuss talent is quite small compared to tech, for example. Let's say FMCG and pharma sectors eventually today are spending less time discussing talent than startups or than private equities. If you think about the typical FMCG sector, you have eventually 2 moments in a year where you do this assessment, the reviews, the called PDRs, performance development reviews, and this happens 2 days a year. 2 days a year is actually less than 1% than the total business days available in the year, and I think this is a missed opportunity. When you compare, this typical FMCG, average with startup or a scale up. As a startup or scale up, they need to attract 400 people. Obviously, the entire board is involved in the recruitment. The entire board is involved in deciding what is the culture that they want to convey. And I think we can discuss that later on as well, the importance of culture. But what is the culture that they want to have in the company? And how do the people that join need to be in line, totally in line in terms of values with the culture that the company wants to pursue? And I think that it is where the dichotomy is existing today in terms of opportunity. I do think that there are several leaders failing because they did not spend enough time looking to the opportunities that they had in terms of team development, career planning of the team, recruitment, etc. And I give an example. Many times we have leaders that, and I hear this story often, going on vacation, but ending up being connected to the office on a very regular basis, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Why is that? That's a result of not having a team that can actually manage the things by themselves when the leader is on vacation. So, and I think that's a sign of not having completed, that task of making sure that the team is sufficiently, strong to be able to tackle those things. Yeah. So if you don't have a team that is strong enough, and strong enough might mean that either you need to have development programs for the team, or you need to recruit somebody from the outside, or you need to give different projects to different team members because they are not on the right ones. So that might be errors of casting along the way in your team. But if you do this, if you have a very strong team, you can probably be more successful. Yeah. So I think that's eventually, before starting with your strategy and your actions, you should start by who is the team that you have and how can you make that team be a high performance team. Yeah. And Joanna, you cannot, and this is a discussion that I have and I see as well as an opportunity, you cannot shortcut on creating a high performance team. There is no shortcut. You cannot go from 0 to let's deliver amazing results from one day to the other. You can't, simply. And to build a high performance team, and this is where some leaders are failing, let's say, or that there are missed opportunities, is that you need to start by trust. And after trust, you need to have, and trust is about letting other people be on their comfort zone to express themselves. And then you need to make sure that conflict is there. Because if you don't have conflict, you don't have different opinions. And different opinions are crucial for the company to be much richer in terms of solutions for the business. And it's quite important in board meetings. I used to say this all the time. In board meetings, if all the directors are saying what you're saying as a leader, then probably you don't need half of the people that are there, right? What you want is to have people with different backgrounds, and that it needs to be diverse so that you get different inputs to the business. And after this conflict, positive conflict is generated, you need to make sure that everybody is aligned, so is committed to what has been decided, even if they disagree. But you see this step of trust, commitment, and or trust, conflict, commitment it's already going a bit further and making sure that the team is aligned and people can express themselves and they are not judged if they bring a bad idea. And then it's all about accountability. So if they commit, then they need to be accountable for something, and you need to be very clear what are they accountable for. And once they are accountable for, you can really track results. So what I see is people trying to jump, and leaders trying to jump from creating trust to delivering results without following the process. And I think you and me, we have been eventually in meetings where you are at the board for 12 hours, yeah, and you are asking, what am I doing here? What is being decided? What is being discussed? Are we aligned or not aligned? And those kind of moments are very important because they show how dysfunctional a certain team can be. Yeah. And as a leader, you need to be understanding if your team is dysfunctional or not. It's not just about discussing a packaging or advertising or a route to market or a capex investment in the factory. It's about the process of decision and the contribution of the different members to make sure that you as a team you are a high performing team. Yeah. And time is not wasted, and everybody is quite efficient on the way you work together. Yeah. That's another dimension of opportunity that I see. And I mentioned to you casting errors as well. And sometimes what's happening, Joan, is that you bring talent that is very good in doing one thing to do something that they were not meant to do. And then you judge them saying that they are not good enough, while they are actually very good in some dimensions of their work. They are excellent actually in some dimensions of their work. So I think this error of casting is sometimes happening in organizations, because career planning is not the strength of many organizations. Individuals move according to the opportunities that pop up. Sometimes it's very spontaneous and you end up moving one individual to one place, but there was no fit to that place, and you move the individual because it was the opportunity that just came. Yeah. So I think that's another kind of mistakes and opportunities. I would call it rather opportunities. Yeah, that's I would be paying attention.
You also mentioned a lot about the culture, and that would be my closing question to you on the company culture. What do you see is desired right now globally as a company culture? What people want?
Yes, I think this is a very important question, and I think Joanna, the answer to it is that it actually doesn't matter that much the kind of culture that you choose for your organization, as long as you live by it. Yeah. So you will have culture that are more aggressive, but you also attract profiles of individuals that like more that kind of aggressive culture where people say everything in a more harsh way to each other because they prefer it like that, or cultures that are more humanistic where individuals prefer to be taken care. It actually doesn't matter. And if you think about the different companies around the world, there were so many cultures being developed and implemented, and many companies have succeeded. So it's more about making sure, and just let's think about it, okay? In our organizations, ourselves, how many times were we discussing, at very high level, the culture? Maybe not that many. So it's important that as a leader, you understand that culture is what allows you to deliver results. And if you are able to bring that culture, whatever you decide that culture is, to life, then people work in an environment where they understand the environment. And what's very confusing is when you say that your culture is A, but you act in Z. And so then the talent is completely lost. And if you have talent that is lost, you have lost productivity, you have lost motivation, you have lost trust. So then people say, so what do we stand for? So I think clarifying the culture and trying to make sure that if you say that you are entrepreneur as one of the values of the culture of the company, the values of the company, then you need to give people the right to take decisions, the right to be autonomous, the right to fail, because entrepreneurship is all about that. And if you choose to be, let's say, human, then you need to make sure that you actually care about people and that you actually have a plan for their careers. And when something happens, you are there to support, despite being challenged. I don't say that human culture is all about just support. It's about challenging them as well. But you need to be coherent. Yeah. And that's the most important part on a culture, is to make sure that you live by what you decided that what is, regardless of what you decided.
Yeah, I was just, recording recently a short film about the culture, which I share with you, that it's at the end of the day, every day, and it's simple. It's about your own behavior. And actually what I'm saying, don't wait for HR to tell what the culture is, because very often, the paper is one, and then just be human, be authentic, be real you, That's at the end of the day what we need to deliver to the to the business world, is authenticity as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think though that when you are, for example, in our role that we are hiring someone, it's one of the key questions that we always ask when it's a new client: what is the culture of the company?
Yeah.
And when, someone reads the values and, how we work, etc., we say, are you sure about this? Because it's fundamental. If you are bringing a candidate, you better be sure that that candidate likes to work in those kind of environments, because the environment will somehow propel or drag, the talent.
Yeah, of
So
course.
looking for the right fit is fundamental. So identifying that culture and being very clear about it, it's I would say it's a success factor for the talent to be happy and to provide amazing results.
Yeah, it's a company fit. That's what you mentioned before as well, about the company fit and the casting error, right? It also
Absolutely.
goes for culture, because there are different characters. Thank you so much for this fantastic conversation and a lot of great insights. I'm sure that many people will learn from you a lot.
Thanks a lot, Joanne. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure, and all the best for your new project. I'm sure it will fly.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.